Hello indie game fans, supersized week of indie games, so buckle up and strap in, although if things are starting to drag a little, do skip ahead since the top 5 are not to be missed. We have a couple of bigger non-indie games that I think may be of interest, as well as many long in development titles, a couple of games launching out of early access, and a surprise or two in this edition of indie gaming this week. Let's begin with the roguelite beat-em-up Tunche, an awesomely animated title with a unique spin on the genre. If your eyes are keen enough, you may have spotted Head Kit from Ahead in Time in this game, but it comes in at number 10 since I believe this is the stated release date, but I cannot find any confirmation on it so far, so poor job by the developer or publisher in promoting this. An interesting looking first person walking sim is Paradise Lost, where you play as a little boy who wanders into an abandoned underground Nazi bunker, with an interesting setting and perhaps some supernatural elements.
Don't freak out. I just want to talk.
Who's that?
So, basically, I need your help.
I'm not going to help you. I don't know you.
I've been watching you, so technically I'm not a stranger. I won't let you go unless you promise to help me.
No matter how dark the night, the new day sun will rise. I'm scared of the dark too.
Your utopia awaits.
Spacebase Startopia is technically a sequel to a beloved cult classic game, Startopia from 2001, looking to tap on that IP and to bring it into a new age.
Calculating time of arrival.
It's a mixture of base building, management sim, tycoon and RTS, where you must not only keep the inhabitants of the space base happy, but to fend off threats as well.
Calculation complete.
Seems like a solid entry in the space and definitely of interest to fans of the genre.
Commander, we'll soon be arriving. Prepare to dock in 3, 2, 1.
Indie gaming is now home to the classic point-and-click adventure game genre, and if you love games like Monkey Island, then Inspector Waffles will be of interest this week. It's a pixel art title starring anthropomorphic animals, where a dangerous mystery is afoot, and you have to get to the bottom of it, but be careful since curiosity did kill the cat after all.
The brutality of war spares none, and perhaps the survivors suffer the biggest consequences.
Food is scarce these days, with the cult hoarding everything.
My fellow Mephistians, your humble leader has a message for you. Mephisto has returned.
Excited to share that the tactics RPG Black Legend also makes it to launch, being set in the 17th century, where a cult has taken over the city and you're sent in to reclaim it. Medieval weaponry and alchemical potions form the core of the combat, combined with a hint of the supernatural, resulting in an awesome setting and vibe. This also comes to us from developer Warcave, who made the underrated RTS War Party, so I'm very excited for this.
Deliver him the city free of the mists that once turned his soldiers feral. Your transgressions against the crown shall be forgiven. Grant him this wish, and he will grant you your freedom.
I'm so excited! This is awesome!
Quite a number of bigger games of the week, beginning with the Steam release of Puyo Tetris 2. the awesome action puzzle game that launched on consoles in December, but is definitely best with a friend.
I've never had this much fun in ever! Let's battle! Time to find our culprit.
At least now we know what we're dealing with.
Let's go, all together!
Looks like you brought some friends.
But time is of the essence, you know. All right, here we go.
How interesting. Beautiful.
Twinkle dust, star blast, whoopsie.
The Oscars, you know?
Remember this guy? For better or worse, his studio's next title, It Takes Two, launches this week, and it's a co-op puzzle platformer that does look awesome. Despite what it looks like, developer LootLite does employ about 75 people, and this is being published by Electronic Arts, so certainly not an indie game, but it looks neat and may be of interest.
Welcome to this wonderful world of wonder. There are enchanting places and challenging spaces.
If you want to trip out to a game, then may I suggest BALAN WONDERWORLD, a 3D platformer that is very strange based on the videos of the demo that I've seen, and while it does come to us from Square Enix, we don't often get games in this genre anymore, so it's of interest. And as for the weirdness, I do believe that there's some lineage of Nights into Dreams for this game, so it should be a very weird but intriguing experience.
Find your courage. And discover that true happiness is an adventure.
year is 1926. A professor of astronomy is found dead in her mansion, and everything indicates that she's been the victim of a heinous murder. Plunge into an original story, written by Fantasy Flight's interactive official writers, and explore the pulp American 20s.
Finally, Arkham Horror Mother's Embrace is a digital board game set in the world of the Arkham Horror board game franchise, which in turn is drawing from Lovecraftian horror, but I believe this is an original adaptation and not simply a 1:1 translation of board game mechanics. It's interesting to see the crossover between board games and the digital space, so a game like this is of interest, where you play as an investigator trying to solve a mystery while trying not to lose your mind, and it does look to be of interest this week.
And the dangerous bayou. As they get closer to their goal, your squad will have to face curious science, living nightmares, and a sinister cult whose mad scheme is to bring about the end of everything. Use a large variety of melee and ranged weapons, as well as powerful items and devastating magic spells to defeat your opponents in turn-based combat, while you attempt to retain your sanity. As you face off against Lovecraftian horrors, your investigators will descend deeper into the depths of madness, affecting their level of sanity and causing traumas that will impact the course of your investigation. Care about your sanity and make the right choices. The old ones are preparing their return.
As with Puyo Tetris 2 covered earlier, Smaller Games begins with Aloof, another action puzzler but with a twist, where you're not simply trying to clear blocks or lines, but rather building shapes, summoning islands, and sending waves to attack your opponent, looking like a novel and fun take. Always a fan of classic shoot 'em ups, so Barrage Fantasia got my attention, looking fantastic due to the pixel art and the shoot 'em up action. A no-brainer pick, the gorgeous Chinese hand-drawn action platformer Bladed Fury gets console ports this week and is a must-play in my opinion.
Where to start? It's not exactly easy for me to tell you everything I've been through. This all began for me with a call from a certain Armitage of Arkham's Miskatonic University. His brother had gone missing, and all the clues led to a remote coastal town, Innsmouth. And it's from this point on that I want you to hear my story.
Add one more Lovecraftian horror title this week with Chronicle of Innsmouth, Mountains of Madness, the second entry in a series of point-and-click adventure games drawing from the classic mythos, looking old-school fantastic and very classic in design.
Muddled in my head. But why involve me? William Blanco.
I am a student of the occult, as you may have heard.
Henry Ackley.
Are you certain you want to pay the price for such knowledge?
The corpses were gutted. Liver and pancreas of both have been removed.
Horrible. Who could do such a thing? Great Cthulhu, sleeping in death, at the sunken city of Relay, awaits his reawakening. Ayataqua lurks in the cold Arctic region.
Clea from 2019 was a pretty well-received, creepy horror title and gets a sequel this week.
New maid Florian. I'm Liam, humble servant of the Chester family.
I sense much chaos within you, human.
You'll suffer for betraying the Whitlock family.
I'm Dragonfey, guardian of the Fourth Realm.
It's chaos or death, Lauren.
I love co-op titles, so when the developer of Culture Monsters reached out, I knew I had to show it off. Quite classic puzzle platforming action, but it does look pretty charming. The cyberpunk action roguelite Danger Scavenger released out of early access last year and gets a Switch port this week and is of interest. I don't have a particular fondness for 6 Degrees of Freedom shooters, but if you do and love retro entries, Desecrators is something to check out this week.
Sigurd is powerful and brave, and his thirst for glory is strong.
Another charming adventure game makes the list with Die With Glory, getting Xbox and Switch versions this week.
Were his friends by his side? Was he alone against many? He never cared. No one could defeat him. From sea to sea, he never died in battle. And he grew old.
ECHOLOCAUTION is a neat looking avoid-a-mark title from a Japanese developer, having some awesome pixel art and quite the interesting echolocation mechanic where you need to ping in order to see what's out there in this arcade high score chase. Our Hijo, A Wild West Tale is a hidden gem of a stealth game and it gets console ports this week.
The Western Marches. Can you smell that? That's the stench of poverty and corruption. The rich tossers tax the shit out of dregs who have little more than the shirts on their backs. And then they rebel. Oh, what a bloody surprise.
If you enjoy tower defense titles, I can recommend to check out Empires in Ruins this week, which is launching out of early access, being quite an interesting combination of strategy, offensive tactics and RPG mechanics. Absolutely love monster taming games, so Entodrive got my attention, mixing 2D sprites and 3D environments in an interesting way, although I wonder how fleshed out this would be. Evil Inside did make a splash when it was revealed, drawing many comparisons to PT, but of course, if the bar is set that high, this might disappoint some people, but of interest to horror game fans. A very weird, almost Rhythm Heaven-like title this week is F.I.S.H, where you are, I quote, enforcing road safety on unsuspecting fish, so it's strange but weird is good.
Stand before me. Bring death and destruction to all that's ours. But they will have to go through me first.
An interesting arena action roguelite that looks slick is For Sparta, based of course on 300 and the Battle of Thermopylae, looking like a neat, smaller entry.
For freedom! For Sparta!
Heart of Enya got my attention due to the hand-drawn art, and interestingly, it's a visual novel crossed with a tactics title, so a little bit of a Pyre vibe from this, where the tactics portion does look strategically interesting. If you love indie games, then I would implore you to check out IWOCon 2021, aka Indie World Order Con, where a fair number of developers that I know are showcasing their titles here, so do check this out, but I do hope that the discovery and exploration is not too clunky. Kosmokrats was a new, humorous puzzle title from last year and gets a Switch port this week.
No interruptions during breakfast in bed.
You know exactly where you are, Boris.
Have you been watching cat videos all night? Again?
The war was far too profitable to end.
You know we can hear you, right?
Merge your mind with mine, and I'll give you immortality.
Always loved roguelite platformers, so Kungfu Cowboy did get my attention, looking interesting with the quad focus and with what seems to be hectic action as well. Another action roguelite makes the list with LootLite, one that seems a little bit more arcadey in nature, similar to something like Hammerwatch, looking like it could be fun.
Finally here. You know how hard it was to find this place? Your competitors were not as lucky as you are.
Tell me when you think mechanic simulators have gone a little too far, since we have gone from car to bus to truck to Mars rovers, and now we are at Mech Mechanic Simulator.
We need to find out what's damaged in the mech.
They're trying out some new stuff like a shooting range to calibrate the weapons, so there's some advancement in the space, and I'm just curious as to what would be next. If you like couch competitive titles, Metalheads may be of interest, where you control a character and have to survive various death traps and to be the last hit banger standing.
Breaking headline from the team at OK News.
If you somehow have not picked this up, Overcooked All You Can Eat is the 2-in-1 combination of Overcooked 1 and 2, combining and streamlining the two experiences with fancy new visuals, 60 FPS and all that jazz, coming to last-gen consoles and Steam with crossplay support, and is a no-brainer title for any gaming sessions with your friends. One more pixel art action roguelite of interest for the week is Raspberry Mash, coming to us from, I believe, a Japanese developer, where the action and visuals did grab my attention. Interesting to see the global reach of this genre with regards to developers, so perhaps we'll see something new.
Voicemail. He sounded urgent, yet unhinged. Early onset dementia. probably couldn't handle retirement on his own. Should have thought about that when you left me and Mom, Dad.
I'm not usually into first-person horror games, but I do think that Sanity of Morris does have potential, so if you enjoy the genre, another title of interest.
It's like I've fallen right into a bad dream. Aliens in Green Lake. It's simply unbelievable. Shit.
Target is down. Situation under control.
John, you're tracing my footsteps, meaning Plan A is a goner. You are Plan B.
Simulator games have an uncanny way of blowing up, so if you're into things like Euro Truck Simulator, the bus might be of interest, taking place in a 1:1 replica of Berlin, Germany, so certainly a curiosity, even more so if you have visited or live in that city.
It's you. What a surprise. I should have known.
A gorgeous looking walking sim entry of the week is The Fabled Woods, having you taking a stroll through the forest on an unforgettable journey, having support for fancy next-gen tech like ray tracing, but I do hope that the narrative is compelling enough.
These woods hold the answers to your questions. Everything will be explained soon, and this time, please pay attention.
Just covered the prologue demo of the Tenants last week, a landlord simulator where you're buying, renovating and renting out homes, which has been very well received, and in a surprise move, the early access launch is this week, so check it out if you love tycoon games like me. Another title that mixes 2 and 3D very interestingly is Town of Machine, a no-nonsense twin-stick shooter that looks hectic, where you need to fight off vigorous monsters to survive. Unfolded Camellia Tales has one of the most striking art styles that I've seen in games, and is based on one of the most tragic conflicts that occurred on Jeju Island, South Korea, where strangely enough, you play as a boy named Herman, which is not very Korean at all, but for a more poignant experience this week, check this one out. Finally, Vectorial is a minimalist survival base builder that looks interesting, focusing more on towers and walls rather than units and troops, where it is perhaps more in line with your .io games rather than Factorial, but it does have some similar vibes, although I completely understand if you don't like the look. Alright, so that was a lot of titles, but we enter the home stretch with Kaze and the Wild Masks coming in at number 5, a very classically designed retro platformer that takes inspiration from classics from the 90s. The vibrant, gorgeous pixel art did put it on my radar, although the animated cutscenes shown off here do look fantastic as well, with the different masks grant our heroine new traversal powers to keep things fresh. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, so I'm glad that it's finally here. Surprise! Just covered Genesis Noir in my video on the best upcoming hand-drawn titles, and noted that it had a Q1 2021 release window, but no date as of 2 weeks ago, but that has changed and it is releasing this week. It's an adventure game with one of the sweetest art styles that I've seen, being an adventure of cosmic proportions between celestial beings where the Big Bang was actually a gunshot fired by a jealous god. Such an intriguing setup, of course I'm down to check this out. Big fan of action roguelites, so of course Dandy Ace makes the list, where you play as a magician trying to escape a cursed mirror. The The Magician theme seems very neat, with the use of card combinations as the main in-run progression, with new artifacts and plenty of meta progression systems to keep you playing.
Oh, not you again!
Insolent brat! To see you.
Can we go home now?
Welcome to Nif's Emporium.
It's from Brazilian developer Mad Mimic, who is best known for the co-op castle defense title No Heroes Here, which I recommend as well, and in addition to that, Dandy Ace will not be an early access title, so it's the best time to jump in. If you need a breather from all the stress of the world, then may I recommend Dorfromantic, one that seems to have roots in board games like Carcassonne, but as single player, where you're simply building out your town by placing tiles down. If you played Islanders and enjoyed that, this is similar but with a slightly different theme, but I do think that both are worth picking up, especially this title this week. And of course, Record of Ludor's War, D-Lit in Wonder Labyrinth takes the #1 spot, being a solid Metroidvania throughout early access, and it is finally here with the 1.0 release. We've not had a great Metroidvania this year so far, so hopefully things will begin to change, where this Japanese entry tapping on a classic IP is not to be missed, although as some of you have pointed out, very similar to Symphony of the Night. Just a heads up, there will be a price increase at launch, so pick it up now if you've been eyeing this, but it is indeed an awesome game with sweet pixel art taking the #1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos and I will see you after the jump.